Welcome to Often Pacing on Tab Radio Racing and Sport. Tim Walker will be joined by Matt Young and Oliver Cownie as they delve into the form for today's Pinjarra harness meeting, as well as an early look at tomorrow's meeting at Gloucester Park. We are Often Pacing.
And it is great to have your company on this Monday morning, once again, the 20th of May, on Often Pacing, as we take a look back at the past week or so and look ahead to the next couple of days. Tim Walker with you, Matt Young not too far away, and joining us on the line to start things off this morning is Ollie Cownie. Ollie, a very good morning to you.
Morning, Tim. Hope you and the listeners had a great weekend.
Yes, how about yourself, Ollie? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was great to see Harley Reid in action yesterday. I'm not an Eagles supporter, but gee, it's hard not to get excited about him.
Yeah, it's certainly one that a lot of people over in this part of the world are very, very excited about. In terms of harness racing, we'll get into horses to follow very shortly, but just your overall impressions of Friday night at Gloucester Park?
It was a great card of racing. It was obviously an action-packed card of racing, which we'll probably touch on pretty soon, but there was some really, really strong performances. Obviously, early on in the card, we had Armour X Factor, who sort of bounced back to form in a way. Had been a little bit disappointing, I think, at times throughout the last 6 months, say. But on Friday was just absolutely dominant, albeit in a lower grade. And Rockmeister back to form as well. Really, really nice win from the back. And it was obviously the free-for-all was just dominated by Jumping Jack Mack, who really started to stamp his authority on the free-for-all ranks.
All right, well, hopefully have Matt Young. He's just having a couple of issues dialing in at the moment, so hopefully we'll be able to have him with us in just a moment's time. If not, we'll get him on the phone line. But, Ollie, why don't we start with you? We'll have a look at some horses to follow from Friday night at Gloucester Park. We'll get yours, and then we'll come back and pick up Matt's afterwards.
Sounds good. I'll start with, in race 2, we have Soundwave. I think he's just been the big victim of bad gates in his last couple of starts. On Friday, ended up restraining from a wide gate and got a mile back in that race won by Armour X Factor, and he really powered to the line late, and I think he's a horse to follow if he can just draw to settle a little bit closer. In the big race, in race 5, I had Loctay, which I thought was another super run. Looks to have come back from a spell just fantastic. Got a long way back on the fence on Friday, and it was a great drive there to pierce through the gaps and end up in 4th. So really great for connections to get a decent earn there. And it's a horse that is a 12-start maiden at the moment, but no doubt off that run on Friday, that won't last long, and she'll be breaking a maiden very, very soon. In race 7, American Monarch, she was used off the gate early in an attempt to lead, which if she didn't lead, it probably looked just about race over for her. But in the end, she took some cover and was still battling on really gamely for 5th in the end, and then went around on the quick backup at Kellerberrin on Sunday yesterday. And she was really good again, flashing late to pick up 3rd. And I thought she's just racing at an absolute peak at the moment, and she's a horse to follow. All
right, so that is Soundwave, Loctay and American Monarch for Ollie Cownie. There is horses to follow out of Friday night. Now, we've fixed the gremlins. We've got Matt Young ready to go. He's got some horses to follow of his own as well. But, Matt, to you, good morning.
Good morning to you, Tim, Ollie, everyone tuned in. Technology and I are not getting along this morning, but horses to follow out of Friday night's meeting. Frankie J. Holden, I thought, was really impressive in his performance. He's just starting to really develop and look like a real nice type, and I just like the way that he closed off nicely in his event. So I think he's one that he's got the capabilities of being able to drop down a few grades from what he raced on Friday night, and we've seen now he can do some work in his races, and he's just becoming a really well-rounded pacer. So I think he is very hard to beat in his next few outings wherever he goes. Purely Pandemic caught the eye for mine. I thought was a brilliant performance after doing things wrong. Just rolled out of her gear for no particular reason, but to make up the ground after 57 first half, and then was still making her way through the line and just hit the line really strongly. I thought that performance was really strong. So Purely Pandemic, I think, is going to win a 2-year-old race pretty soon for Dylan Edgerton Green. And Karana, he was just absolutely outstanding. To get that close to Sky Lou with, I know that he was close enough, but at the same time, Sky Lou's a pretty smart horse, and I thought the performance from Karana was first class to be able to get into the second placing, the silver medal, and really gave the leader a bit of a shake late. So those are the three to follow out of Friday night.
We just spoke to Paul Strawn earlier on the Sports Daily about Highview Heidi Matter, a $9,000 purchase and already $47,000 in the bank. So this is a filly that's got a role to play going forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She was brilliant on Friday night. She's got good tactical speed. She's got so much toughness to her, and it just looked like that Chris Vogt went out there on Friday night. I was very keen on Raynette, as I outlined on the Retrovision Gloucester Park preview, and I was hoping that Chris wouldn't drive and turn it into a staying test, but that's what happened, and Raynette unfortunately wasn't able to keep going, but he really backed in his confidence with that filly to put the pressure on and be able to sustain that speed, dash to the front, down the back, 29 down the back, and then to fend them off late, home in 31. I think, it's steady on the way home, but for a filly to do that in the breeze, I think she's got a lot of boxes being ticked going forward.
All right, so for Ollie, Soundwave, Loctite, American Monarch, for Matt, Frankie J. Holden, Purely Pandemic, and Karana. We just keep following Karana because the way that the Bond Pacer has come back this prep has been very, very good. All right, let's turn our attention to Pinjarra today, gents. And Ollie, we'll let you fire away. You're up and going nice and early in the program. Your first best comes up in race number 2 this afternoon.
In race 2, Noble Thorondor, it's one that's attracted a little bit of attention early. It's into about $5.50 now, but I still think that's a decent price. He's already put together a nice little record. 3 starts, he's won 1 and he's run second twice. And last start he made a bit of an error in the score up and was chasing them early. It was a pretty slow tempo, so he was able to catch up pretty easy. But in the end, he ran on really well and was beaten just 3 metres by Major Mickey Whitby, who's likely to go around favourite in this race. So that looks really good form for this. I'm not sure whether he lands here, whether he can get the 1-1 toe up or not. If he's any further back, it might be difficult to win, but I still think he looks a really good each-way chance, Noble Thorondor.
And just on that race, Ollie, before we get to your next one, we're going to have a chat to Ash Markham in about 10 minutes' time regarding Major Mickey Whitby, so a key part of that race. Go on to race number 4 if you can.
In race 4, Billy James, I thought he was obviously the first emergency here, and he's come in with the scratching of Major Class, and he now looks really, really hard to beat, drawing a really low barrier in gate 2. First up, he was pretty average. He didn't really make any impression at Bunbury, beaten a fair way. And then second up at Gloucester Park, he was following them through late, and I thought he was travelling really, really easy without a run. He was running to dead ends there, and he looks primed and ready to go in this race from that low barrier. He's got really good gate speed, so I think he can drive through, lead them up and take plenty of catching. He should be a lot fitter third up from a spell here.
And the last of yours?
In the 6th race, there's a horse here that really doesn't like winning, but it's a consistent place getter in Scuttlebutt. 2 wins, 7 minor placings. He's always thereabouts, but he just can't quite seem to crack it for a win, although he did a couple of runs ago, so he may have turned a corner. He dropped out of it last start, but I'm always happy to forgive one bad run. I thought, using his really good gate speed, I thought he looked the leader in this race, and from there he has pretty strong place claims, although High Sugar Rush does look very, very hard to beat in this race.
All right, so Scuttlebutt there for Ollie in race number 6, but conceding that High Sugar Rush is going to be hard to beat, along with Noble Thorondor in race number 2 and Billy James there in the 4th. So, Matt, to you now, and you're obviously going to be, as you forecast on the Sports Daily, involved earlier on in the program as well, and you're going to go to the very first, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I really liked That's Not My Gate's last run after making a rare error. I think that's the most important thing to note when you're talking about a trotter, is that she doesn't make this mistake very often. So it just looked like she may have even shied at a whip that was being held back by one of the drivers. So it's very unlike her to do that, but she lost about 40 or 50. She caught the field and was able to beat one home. It was a good time, really strong performance. Really like the way that she stuck on well. That was over 2,100 at the 2,500 metres or 2,600 metres. She has won at the the back handicap from this distance before, where she's beaten Bonnie Run. I even think she beat Saloon on that day as well. So I think she can do it again. And I think there could be a little bit of toing and froing early to who gets to the top. So I think that'll help her chances, and I really like her chances here. So That's Not My Gate is my best of the day, and she starts off, and it's always fraught with danger putting a best of the day off of 80 metres, but gee, she's going well. So I like her. I agree with Ollie in race 6, Scuttlebutt. I thought he'd charge to the top, and from there he'd be a really good place chance. I don't think he can hold out High Sugar Rush, but I think Scuttlebutt will give a really good sight out in front in that event. Just forget his last run. And race 10, each way, number 1, Ideal Whitby. I thought he was a really strong each way chance. I liked the way he hit the line last start. He had a bit of a freshen up, then he had a 7th at Pinjarra, then I liked the 6th at Bunbury. Just a nice draw, short course. I thought there was a little bit of vulnerability there to Lombo Mitchinson's chances in this race, and I thought Ideal Whitby could be a notable improver in the last race. So those were the 3 races I was playing.
So That's Not My Gate is the best of the day to start things off, and hopefully a great start to the day. Scuttlebutt place heavy there, and Ideal Whitby on the each-way basis. Just on last week, we were right all around it, gents, on the Monday at Pinjarra. Plenty of placings, and obviously Major Mickey Whitby a winner for you there, Ollie, last week. And Matt, you were with Paraquet last week and was heavily supported at Gloucester Park, so we'll let you open the proceedings for tomorrow night at GP, and you're going pretty early in the program to find a winner there as well tomorrow night.
Yeah, look, this race might be a bit similar to Paraquet, might be just pointing out the absolute obvious, and the horse could just firm right up into a short quote, but I thought Our Lady Jen really gets her opportunity. She's a horse that's been performing quite well without a great deal of luck. She gets a great opportunity here from gate number 1, and I thought she would probably lead and win. If she is too short, there is a plan B. I think Courage of Lombo can run a place in the race and perform quite well, so she's drawn to follow Our Lady Jen. I think could be a piece of fair. So 1 to win. If she's too short, 10 a place. And if she's too short, then maybe just go the exacta or a trifecta. But that's how I saw that. And then in race 8, it's a race devoid of a huge amount of exposed form, but I thought Decla Diva gets a really good opportunity in this event. I thought her last run, we've seen her race against Relatively Armour. They went 157 and change for the 2,100 metres. And she's got the draw advantage over a couple of her main dangers in the race. I'm expecting Spice Package to run a better race again here, but I thought Decla Diva could come into this race well fresh and be reasonably hard to beat in race number 8. So that's how I saw it. Race 2, number 1, straight out. Race 8, number 3, hopefully straight out as well, and hopefully they can both get the job done.
All right, so that there, Decla Diva in race 8 for Matt Young tomorrow night, and Our Lady Jen the win in race number 2. But again, just monitor the prices and potentially look at the 10 on the place basis there as well, or you could play the exacta and Quinellas. Now, Ollie, let's get to you for your thoughts on GP there tomorrow night, and you're waiting until later on in the program.
Starting in race 8, and I totally agree with Matt's thoughts on Decla Diva. My one concern with the horse was that it's had a bit over a month between runs. I'm not sure whether there was an issue or not, but it'll pay to follow those pre-race interviews, which are always so vital. She obviously got a bit tired last start, but was first up from a very long spell, so she was entitled to, and she drops into a maiden, so should be pretty hard to beat there. And then in race 9, there's another one that could be pretty short here. Nicky's Son ran 3rd last start when up in grade behind Almastoso and Eva's Image, who are both flying at the moment. She was slowly away from the inside and ended up just getting double-crossed, and from there it was pretty much over. From the 2100, it was just too much for her to do late, and here she draws the inside again in a weaker race. And crucially, I think Chris Lewis jumps on, who she's got out really, really nicely for. So she could be short, but I think he looks one of the bankers of the night, Nikki's son.
Nikki's son in the lucky last there, race 9, number 1, as well as Decla Diva for Ollie Cownie. All right, so that is a look at Pinjarra and Gloucester Park, and of course an eye towards Friday night as well, where we've got the Pearl Mat, and barrier draws tomorrow will be critical as always. But off the back of the heats last week, we're going to have an interesting Pearl to look forward to this Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely right. Wave Rider, he's been beaten his last 2, so I think there'll be a little bit of shine taken off of him in terms of the respect around from his competitors. So no doubt they'll be looking to try and beat him, but he has got some good early speed. So if he draws in close enough, he has to be a strong winning chance again. Armour Believer was good, and of course Ideal Muscle was able to dominate and control. So yeah, it'll be an interesting race, but I'd still say Wave Rider will be going in a pretty keen and short price favourite from any draw.
Yeah, we're just awaiting on the nominations to come out. They'll be out any tick of the clock. All right, now, Matt, you'll obviously be down there at Pinjarra today, and then, of course, tomorrow as well at Gloucester Park. So making sure that we are staying tuned to the Trots WA X page, not only throughout the early part of the week, but also later on in the week as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much heading to Pinjarra right now. The first race is in about an hour and a half, so I'll head down there and grab some interviews and start uploading, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled on the Trots WA page.
It is not far away. Thanks for your time this morning, Matt.
Cheers.
There is Matt Young with his look at Pinjarra and Gloucester Park. And Ollie, of course, there's plenty to look forward to over here in the West. You'll be keeping a very close eye on it over the course of the next week and the next few days. You'll be with the team as well on Talking Trots on Thursday. So we'll stay tuned for that and be back again to do it all again next week on Off and Pacing.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Tim.
Have a great week. There is Ollie Cownie and Matt Young. All right, stay tuned. We've got Ash Markham, who will join us on the other side of the break. Stay tuned to Off and Pacing on this Monday morning. It's approaching 10 minutes to 10 o'clock.
On Tab Radio, Racing and Sport, this is Off and Pacing.
It's great to have your company on this Monday morning ahead of Pinjarra today and Gloucester Park tomorrow. A chance to catch up with the man who's going to be playing a key part at both of the meetings. Small but select chances, number of chances to work through with Ash Markham this morning. Ash, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tim. How you going, mate?
Going very, very well. Great to have you on the program this morning, and a few nice chances to work through over the next few days, and looking forward to Pinjarra. I dare say you're already on the road or not far away from getting down there, because you're involved nice and early with obviously Major Mickey Whitby in the second event on the program this afternoon. Just before we have a look at today in further detail, 3 runs so far. What have you made of the start to racing from Major Mickey Whitby?
Definitely a horse on the improve, and sort of always thought he had a little bit of ability, which was good, and he sort of come to the fore. So obviously today 4th run in, so he should be pretty spot on to go again. So definitely a horse on the improve, and hopefully there's a bit more to go on with him.
Did you like the way that he went about it last week, in particular, in getting that well-deserved win on the board?
Yeah, I was probably more happy that he hit the line so well. He got a little bit keen in behind, but the way he sort of took the sprint lane and got up the inside, I was wrapped with that. Like, showed a real good turn of foot. So that sort of just means going forward he might be a little bit more versatile, and we can probably drive him a different way each time we need to. All
right, now just on today, so how do you approach it then from barrier number 5? Obviously Aiden's got the bases loaded underneath you, and we just heard from Ollie, he's got a bit of time for the 7, the one that's drawn barrier 7 here in Noble Throndor. So how did you assess it today?
It's probably going to just depend on the first 100 and what Team DeCampo wants to do. But I'm not too fast one way or another, whether we sort of go back and have a sit and come at them late, or if something doesn't look like happening early, we can sort of press forward. 2100 really suits him down the ground. He sort of keeps plugging away. So, obviously, Aiden's team are always, 2-year-olds always well educated and normally have more than their fair share of ability. And the two drawn outside of us are no slugs either. So, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I think I've got the right horse to get the job done.
All right, and capable of winning any way that you ask him to?
Yeah, I think like last week he showed that he sat up probably and sort of, he hit the line really good. The week before I might have probably maybe if overdriven him a little bit. I was pretty confident he could win, and I wasn't sure Aiden's was as good as what it was, and probably was a little bit of my undoing. But, I think today we'll just drive how the race pans out, and I think you can get the job done one way or another.
Okay, so that's in race number 2 today in Major Mickey Whitby. Now, another small field. It'll be a pay 1-2 field in race number 5 where you drive Run Stella Run for the first time in a couple of months. How have you assessed what Run Stella Run has been doing of late?
I don't think I'd put her in the same category as the last one. But,
No.
I think she got beaten the fairway at Narrogin the other night. I think if they go 2 minutes, she'll probably get beat the fairway again today. But she probably had a chance to win one at Busselton this year, but she galloped a couple of times, and I've only driven her once before, I think, or maybe twice. And, I sort of think it's probably a little bit hard for her today.
All right. Hopefully can pass a few over the concluding stages. Now, just to tomorrow night as well, and if we can get a word on Codename Marcus, who, of course, has now had a little while in your care. What sort of a horse did you get when you took over training him from Belly?
Probably not the same horse I gave him. Nah. He's sort of always shown that he's probably got his fair share of ability. I'm not 100% convinced he'll ever be as good as what he probably could be, but he's definitely a horse with a fair bit of ability. So these cheap races, he can sort of probably do a little bit more work in them and probably still be good enough. Tomorrow night's probably a little bit tricky from the draw, whether you keep pressing forward early and get outside of him, or have a real crack and try and get to the top and get his breather, or whether he just comes later. Either way, it sort of depends on how he feels coming up to the gate. So he definitely has the ability to be winning that, and I think he should be winning it, yeah. Yeah,
it does certainly look a winnable assignment. Do you have a preferred way that you'd like to attack, or as you say, you just have to wait and see what happens when he gets up on the gate?
I think he's definitely a better horse when he's not used early. Like his best run's always been coming at the 800 or 700 sort of thing and letting him sort of really roll into it, because he can run a pretty good 800. He can convincingly run a 55, 56 half without too much issue. So if there's a bit of speed early and we don't have to go to the bell or something like that, that'd be perfect. If they're going to crawl early, we'll just get straight around them, and either way it works out. We can drive him however we need to do.
Just on Belly, obviously taking it back over from him after he had a go with him, or are you able to say on radio what he said in giving back the horse to you?
I don't think he was very happy. We sort of, I had him over east, and I was working quite a few horses, and I was working a job as well, and things, it was getting a little bit hard, and I was probably doing more than I should. I was showing every weekend and every night and working sort of a 40-hour job, and we got talking one day, and I said, this horse should be over there doing a job, and it didn't take Belly much convincing to get him over, so we sent him over, and with a real high bar that he might shape up for the Nuggets, which sort of didn't plan out, and he sort of fell off the perch, but he ran a pretty good fifth in the Pinjarra Classic, and sort of run a couple of good places, in town and that sort of thing. So I think Belly probably had him going better.
Yep.
He was definitely had him screw down a lot more than I ever did or ever would. So, probably it's a fair comment to say he had the horse going better, but I just showed him myself with my brother, so we just look after him, and whatever happens, we're not too upset about whether we win, lose or draw. But I think Ryan had a fairly good opinion of him. So, and he lets me know that he had him going better quite regularly. So, it was all good. It was a bit of a venture, and we definitely didn't lose anything with him coming over here.
Speaking of coming over here, coming back over here, obviously now been here a couple of months. How are you enjoying it?
Not much too much changes, to be honest, Tim.
Yep.
Life's just a different place. You just look at a different tree or a different track. So it was definitely a great experience heading east, and one that I'm forever grateful for. And sort of to grow as a person and a family was really good. Obviously, the horse side of things didn't probably work out as good as I'd sort of hoped, but we made some really good friends, met some really good people, and we come back here and sort of not pick up where we left off, but things will fall back into place in time. So just head down, ass up, and just keep going at it.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully a couple of winners for you over the course of the next 24 hours or so. Thanks for your time this morning, Ash. We do appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, mate. Too easy.
There is Ash Markham with us on the line, tidying up things on Off and Pacing again for today. Of course, the Trots WAX page, as we touched on there with Matt Young, it all gets underway from just before 11:30 this morning, the first of the 10 races. So making sure that you stay tuned in for that. And then, of course, an eye towards Friday night as well with the Pearl Classic down there at Gloucester Park. Stay tuned here to Tab Radio throughout the course of the day. Again, we'll have the full coverage of Pinjarra there with Matty McDermott headlining all of the local racing action today. I'll be back again next week on Off and Pacing. Look forward to your company then. Have a terrific week.